Welcome to Transformers, the podcast about how business people and policymakers are creating a sustainable future. I'm your host, Kai Embren. In today's program, my guest is Epi Ludvik, a founder and CEO of Crowdsourcing Week. In 2008, he created one of New York's hottest boutique virtual ad agencies built on a 100% crowdsourcing model. Epi is one of the pioneers in the crowdsourcing ad space. His global experience throughout his career have taken him across the US, Asia and Europe, with skills in advertising and media with high-profile clients and power brands. Welcome, Epi.
Thanks for having me, Kai.
Great. Let's start to try to find the definition on crowdsourcing and what crowdsourcing is about. Can you give the listener an introduction to this field?
Yeah, well, it's a term which is highly misunderstood. A lot of time when I've been talking about crowdsourcing, people think about the funding, the crowdfunding part of it. But understanding the process and what crowdsourcing can do is important because it's about a process of tapping into individuals or groups of people who are paid or unpaid and who are linked together with a common interest to bring forward a powerful increased results through their aggregated actions or activities. So that process is what really crowdsourcing is. And today, of course, with the means of the technology, the advancement of technologies, that type of process is funneled in many ways. So pretty much like tapping into people's passions, talents, and skills. And today you have hundreds of thousands of type of the crowdsourcing platforms. They connect the dots in this ecosystem. So that's the true definition of what crowdsourcing is.
So crowdsourcing can involve all sectors and levels of a society.
Absolutely. I mean, whatever you want, you have it in people, and crowds are all about the people. And sometimes like crowds doesn't have to be in hundreds of thousands, right? However, the opportunity of now connecting 100,000 people or a million people, it's huge. And so now that we're all of us working from home, I mean, I've been working from home for a good 10 plus years, but now that almost everybody's working from home, this is a huge opportunity to connect people to work on the common ground.
So connection and digitalization, networking, many different sort of tools that you need to go into this field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, digitalization in the beginning, when we have the advancement of the internet, it was a lot about the information, right? And that internet of information, you still have a lot of people who are stuck in that mindset. So they are very, the way how they use the internet, they use in a very passive way. Now, because of now we are forced to use internet more than just for on a passive way to watch things. Now we're starting to get this in this world of a social productivity, which gives us an opportunity to learn and engage and produce something out of that time that we spent on internet. So we're just in the beginning of what we're going to see a huge acceleration. I mean, we're seeing this acceleration, but we have still not seen yet this acceleration. What we've been talking with Crowdsourcing for many years already.
If we talk about levels of influence, and do you see that crowdsourcing can threat the structure of organizations in business and also in governments?
Definitely. We've been saying this from day one that crowdsourcing is no longer a choice for companies. It's a must. And the reason for that is because the way how the industrial revolution was built, okay, it was based on, uh, you know, educating people to do a specific task, right? And those people, they picked an education to go to do this specific task, to find a job, to do this particular job, right? And so if he hated or she hated or did or liked or don't, uh, there was a complete another question. But the answer here is that today we have an opportunity to open up this huge door of opportunity for them to start to see where they fit and how they can really be part of this a bigger um, uh, opportunity that the companies and the industries can offer to them. So when we hire today is very different than how we hired people 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So I think this is a huge opportunity for people to be channeled on a way that they are going to work their work with the passion, which that was a missing link, I would say, during the industrial age.
So crowdsourcing empower and activating people.
Exactly, you're activating their passions and talents and their skills, and by doing that, they're able to really work with a passion. And I think that was what the missing link was back in the old days, where people went to work without having a passion in front. So that purpose was not designed. It was not clear for them, and you can't have a purpose without the passion.
Have you seen any changes of organizations that been using crowdsourcing as a empowerment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing like a growth that's happening in this space in a big way. It's a double-digit growth, and the reason why is because now the companies, they get it. They understand that everything that they wanted in terms of innovation, everything they ever wanted to accelerate or to come up with a new product line is in the hands or in the minds of the a customer or not the customer. And so by enabling them and activating them or connecting with those outside stakeholders is what this opportunity is. And so I think now companies starting to create another layer of this kind of platform, a layer that pretty much like it wasn't existent before. Now to see that is as a must, and how they can really connect in this platform, how they can connect the other stakeholders. And I think a lot of these companies now, they're starting to really model around what some other companies have been doing for many years. Like an example of with Lego, right? The toy, I've been talking about this all the time. It's a great story how Lego has been innovating with this Lego ideas, this crowdsourcing platform that they have developed over 10 years ago. And today it's been a great model for a lot of companies who have been following the same footsteps what Lego has been doing for a good 10 years.
Can you give the insight of Lego a little bit more? And what's happened?
Yeah, so Lego ideas basically it's a model. It's a model that pretty much is a combination of the open innovation, some product validation, and some of the also marketing too. And so the way how to do is you can go on Lego Ideas. Anyone can go on Lego Ideas and can come up with the prototype of a model of a toy. So if you think like there's a really interesting story, you can bring that story and you can prototype that story in a toy in a way with a toy. And with this, you can bring it to Lego Ideas, where basically once you bring this prototype in Lego Ideas, you have a certain amount of time to make sure that you have tens of thousands of reviews over that. And once you have those reviews, then Lego ideas, a team, the innovation team brings it into the lab and they discuss it about the validation of the product. And once they decide that this is the right product based on all these criteria they have, then they make whoever that created that prototype, they make them as a partner. So then it becomes a product that can be sold in all their stores or e-commerce, and whoever created the prototype gets a 1%, I believe, of the net sales. So the opportunity here that I'm talking about here is that you can engage outside stakeholders in this process of innovation for a new product and for being able to really also market your product as well. Think about just marketing alone, the marketing value that comes with this, prototype after prototype on the Lego ideas is huge. So it works in many ways. It's a great model. And then the crowdfunding model that they have behind is like basically as you go to those reviews, when someone is reviewing the product, this prototype, they ask you a question: is this would you pay this price for this product, right? And so by you selecting what amount would you pay for this product, it gives an opportunity also for Lego to understand that the price point of what people are willing to pay for this product. So
it's sort of open up a door for consumers, not only business to business model. It's open up for the consumer's role in the development of the product.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I look at all of this thing, like when you look at the opportunities that people have today versus the opportunity that were like 10 years ago, it's like a night and day. Today, I really don't see myself that I can even complain for 1 minute or 1 second that I don't have anything to do. I mean, there's so much things to do today. There's so little time. The only thing you need to know the value of your time, how you really bring this time forward into this environment where you can really connect your passion. And so I'm sure there's a lot of people who have the passion, but they have not really found their way being channeled in the right direction.
You must have passing by a lot of good ideas under the years, but where do you find the leaders in the world of crowdsourcing? Can you give us 3 examples of successful crowdsourcing?
Well, I mean, so crowdsourcing is a big term. So when you talk about specific mean of a crowdsourcing, then it's a completely different story. I can give an example. So for example, with some of our partners. So here's the HeroX model, right? It's a crowdsourced platform for innovation. So basically, you do not have to have massive prizes to really have an innovation with a HeroX. So basically, their mindset is basically about anybody is an innovator and everybody can contribute towards the innovation of any products that the companies are willing to put out there, or the briefs they want to put out there, right? And this comes across all kind of sectors, from technology to energy to space, I mean, you name it. And so this is one great example of what HeroX. So it's pretty much like a social network of innovation, right? Then you have, again, another partner. I mean, all of our crowdsourcing companies are partner of ours because we've been leading this space. We've been a global voice for a good 7 years, and we've been just pushing further in terms of like what crowdsourcing can do for many companies. So this another example with one of our partners is about the how this company is pretty much like is making a very accurate speech recognition by training an AI through crowdsourcing model, right? So it's, of course, is much more complex than what I just explained to you about the crowdsourcing with the HeroX. But this is also another great model. And so when you think about this for a moment, how do you think you can have a smart AI? Well, certainly you're not going to have a smart AI by having a technology and technology training each other. You need a human input. So when you have a human input like Define Crowd, in this case, with the speech recognition, they're really training the AI to be able to respond in a very smart way. So that's where the human on the loop comes in, and this is where the automation comes in once they connect the dots. So this is another great example of the crowdsourcing enabling AI on a speech recognition, specifically speech recognition, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, I understand, but it's different types of methodology to be used. And I understand that if a company would like to use crowdsourcing as a methodology, they can promote that development and also empower people in the company. But it also that you need knowledge from outside, and you have companies who offer services with crowdsourcing methodology. So where do company go to learn more about crowdsourcing as a methodology?
well, I mean, for us, like we've been writing probably over 1,000 plus blogs for the good 7 years. You
Yes.
can
Yeah.
find as many resources in our crowdsourcingweek.com, where pretty much like we have lots of information between the blogs and between the videos that we have from previously from physical conferences that we've done over um, 30 plus conferences in 25 countries. But then we also have these virtual events that we've been doing. So there's lots of information. All you can find in crowdsourcingweek.com. I think that would be probably the most number one resource, not because of I started Crowdsourcing Week, but when you look at, there's one organization that have been able to pull this together. We've been able to do that for many, many years. And so we do this with a passion.
I see. Well, if you have been traveling around and have this crowdsourcing week in different places of the world, and is it any place around the planet who are working more methodology with crowdsourcing, or sort of a nation that is in front of others? Do you see any inspiring leadership around the world on crowdsourcing as a method?
Well, I mean, there are different geographies for different things, and sometimes in a very different context, right?
Yes.
For example, when you look at like what one government can do, for example, like you have a government of Estonia who's been doing very well with the e-residency. They created a marketplace. So marketplace also fit under crowdsourcing, right? So they created this marketplace for pretty much like the digital nomads, which is pretty much a group on a rise, especially now also, but there's no traveling. But as soon as the traveling begins, you're going to see a huge spike in these digital nomads, because people now, they know they don't have to be working in one specific place and live in the same place, right? So they can work remotely. But then you have also like a community that we discovered probably like 5 years ago. We discovered them when we were in Copenhagen. We did an event there, and then Eva-Lena, which she approached me. She said, "Hey, we'd like to do this, and let me show what we've been doing." So when I look at like closely what they've been doing in terms of like on a local level, right, and how they're engaging, people and doing all different things, like and then we've done a number of events there in Vollerim in the Arctic Circle.
Yes, let us talk a little bit about that crowdsourcing can transform communities and cities. And
Exactly.
so let us visit the rural area in the Arctic and listen to how they have been using crowdsourcing as a tool for growth and sustainability. So I would like to say welcome to Eva-Lena Skalstad in Vollerim in Swedish Arctic. Crowdsourcing as a method have been the tool since the start of Vollerim Economic Association in 1999. Can you give us, listener, an insights from activities and businesses that has empowered citizens in Vollerim? Eva-Lena?
Sure, and thank you, Kai and Epi. Vollerim is situated in the north part of Sweden, at the Arctic Circle. And Vollerim as a community mobilizing and empower people in this village, Vollerim. We are around 800 people. And up until today, we have around 60 businesses, 40 non-profit organizations, including 7 community businesses that are created to strengthen the local economy in the village, and all revenue is reinvested back into the village.
Seems to you have a long tradition, and can you give us some key factors of success in the village?
Yeah, I would say that the key factors is a combination of a passion for the village, a passion to be able to stay in a place you love, a stubborn will to survive in this Arctic area, combined with there is a deep understanding of equality in the village, that no one is more or less, that we need each other to develop the village and stay here. It's also a strong self-leadership and a strong entrepreneurial spirit among the grassroots, the ordinary people, because it's the ordinary people in the village that fix this.
I see. Can you give us some example on activities and projects you are running in Vollerim?
Yeah, it have been going on in many years, but the first businesses together was created 1999, and that was the Vollerim Economic Association that's starting to run a hardware store, post office, meeting place. And then we had Viva, Vision in Vollerim area, that had 2 hotels and 1 camping, Hotel Vollerim and 2 Rivers Hotel. And there it is around 180 co-owners. And then you have Vollerim Charter School. It's a small school that the village started because the municipality closed down the school in the village. So it's around 40 students in the age between 12 and 15. And then you have Lapland Vollerim welcomes you. And that is a tourist-based company that became one of Northern Europe's most interesting destinations. And in the spring of 2014, it was named as one of the world's best practical examples of sustainable tourism. And it was placed in the top 3 at the Tourist for Tomorrow competition that the WTTC made 2014. And then we have the Vollerim Farm and Mathantverket Vollerim that work to save the endangered Arctic breed fjällko and make amazing cheeses in the village that is rewarded with Swedish gold and bronze in World Cheese Award.
Oh, I see. So fjällko is a sort of mountain cow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a small cow, and there is more tigers in the world than fjällko, so it's important.
I see. Okay. But I understand your collaboration within the citizens in Vollerim, that is the crucial issue for you. But you also have collaboration outside Vollerim.
Yes, the last decade we have worked a lot in different networks, both Swedish, Nordic and global networks. And we have worked a lot with Bert-Ola Bergstrand, for example, with the Learning Society Network, and Social Capital Network in San Francisco with the founder Kevin Jones. And of course, the last years with Epi and Crowdsourcing Week in the Nordics and Europe with participants from all over the world.
So if I would like to read or know more about Vollerim, where do I find you?
You find us at laplandvollerim.se, And you can also do digital visits here. And you're, of course, welcome when the times are right in real, in this beautiful area.
Oh, thank you very much, Eva-Lena.
Thank you.
Why Vollering for me? Well, when I was talking to Eva-Lena at the when she approached me, and I understood that there's some really deep involvement of the engagement of the each member of the village in doing different things as part of this collective. That's what really got me my attention. And then, of course, all other things like they start to really like the excitement about the being up there in Arctic and knowing about all these great things that they have between aurora lights and the reindeers and all that, which we made a part of experience when we did the first Arctic, and then we've done a second one, and we did 3 times, so 3 years. So that was really good, great experience, and everybody just loved it, the whole entire journey. So it was a good learning journey. It was a way for people to engage and to really see that know-how that is in that small community. And so, yeah, that was really amazing.
So this is a rural area which have been working on crowdsourcing. And if you go into cities and big mega cities, do you see any development of crowdsourcing in a mega city as London or Paris or New York?
Yeah, I mean, the officials, this big city officials, they like to call it an IoT involvement, a smart city, all that. But this is all part of the human input. You ain't going to have a smart city with the stupid people. Let's put it this way. And so you need to have a smart citizens. You need to really engage your citizens in order to have a smart city. And so the mayors who understand this process, understanding the what is it that they can have the citizens engaged through the process, are the mayors who really are winning. And of course, it's not easy running a big city and engaging citizens in many different ways. But what's happening now, for example, let's put an example, for example, here, and why we're not doing it. Okay, so we need to ask this question: why we're not really engaging the citizens? Okay, today, let's say like a small businesses are being heard big way. Okay, and especially the brick and mortar businesses. All right. If you look at, for example, most of these big cities, the mayors are not listening to the needs of their citizens. All right. And so the issue is that they're all talking about the smart cities or whatever, blah blah. But in the end of the day, we must really listen to the concerns of the citizens, and we need to engage them in the process.
So are the mayors crowd leaders?
I don't think we're seeing today with many mayors. I don't think we're seeing these mayors are true crowd leaders.
Why?
And
Why do you think?
Well, I think there's a shift in politics. Those mayors that we have today, they're more concerned about their political career than anything else.
So if you look at Paris and London, you have been in both cities.
Well, London, it's the same thing. You have a mayor who's just completely just complaining about, but has no solutions whatsoever. You tell me right now, is there any solution that came from Mayor Khan, okay, that is helping small businesses? You know what small businesses represent in a big cities is represent quite a big chunk of the economy, right? So I'm not talking about politics. All I'm talking about, this is not the way how the leaders of today should lead cities, without having the citizen engaged in the process. All right, we have all the tools. Any tools that you want, we have it. but they're not engaging it.
But if you look at the options for the many small businesses and others who are interested to contribute and empower themselves in today's society, you may need some crowdsourcing platforms to learn from. Where do they go?
Well, I mean, you have all kind of solution. Again, I said you have so many technologies that you can apply to engage your citizens. You can use the software as a service. You can use platforms with the crowds coming from different parts of the world. I mean, you have all the solutions here. Solution is the people and the technology. We have the technology, we have the people, but we're not putting those things together, and that's an issue. Now, I'm not going to talk about politics because the politics is what got us in here, what got us in this environment today. But all I'm saying is that we do not have crowd leaders in major cities or in as many as we want in a bigger corporation. Corporations are more getting, because the companies they run, they are accountable. They're accountable to their own shareholders, investors, and so they need to bring accountability. These mayors, how they run the cities, they're not accountable. They're just running their cities the way, copy and pasting stuff.
Oh, they should be elected every 4th year or 3rd year, or.
Well, first, they should be a business owner first. Every mayor, I believe that if you're going to be a mayor of a city, you should prove yourself that you ran a business with minimum of 15 people and a successful business before you run for mayor.
We talked about crowdsourcing platforms and to build your competence in this field. But do you have any recommendation of books or sort of they can read more about how to work with crowdsourcing as a tool?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we do have a bunch of books. We do have a one good centralized resource that we created this for many years for people. We call it Crowdsourcing Week book club, where you can go to it. It's crowdsourcingweek.com/crowdsourcing week book club. So you can find out all the information. You have books from not just crowdsourcing itself. We have a bunch of those crowdsourcing books, but it goes also beyond that. It's about the leadership. It's about the machine learning. I think one book that I like people to understand better, and what really it's especially is at this environment now, what's happening, understanding between like the why these things are happening and how crowdsourcing is such important, especially during this time, is one book that I just read a few months back. It's called AI Superpowers. It's written by Kai Fu Lee. He was a managing director for Google in China, and he wrote this book called China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order. And so when you read this book, you start to understand also what's happening, but also you have to understand the power of crowdsourcing. So that's one great book that I highly recommend reading. It's very relevant to what's happening right now today.
Yeah, I would say that's a great step to learn more about crowdsourcing as a model. And if you will give the listener a view of the future of crowdsourcing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the future of crowdsourcing is, to put in really a simple context, it's going to be much more dynamic. Just think about for a moment, like what the cloud computing did to the servers, where you pretty much like now you have an on-demand servers 24/7. Same thing, what you're going to do with crowdsourcing, you're going to have an on-demand people. Pretty much like you can become, today you're a company of 10 people, and tomorrow you can just hire 500 people or 1,000 people on a project, just like that. This is what the future of crowdsourcing. Now, beyond that, you're also going to see with the advancement of virtual reality, that's going to change a lot of things, because we are humans that we like to have this environment around us. And so this work environment is changing the way between like how we work today with this laptop, okay, and in a way that is today's like in tomorrow's terms, like in 10 years from now or 5 years from now, it's going to be very primitive, because the way how we're going to work is we're going to work through the virtual reality. We're going to have these new gadgets, and we're not going to type anymore. You know, it's a voice enabled type of actions. And so the whole notion of the working remotely is going to change completely, and crowdsourcing has to do a lot with that. You can imagine like a large company can go and tap hundreds of thousands of people just like that on demand to run their specific projects, and that all based on defined crowds. So you're going to have many more platforms coming up. They're sophisticated. I know a few people that they're doing some great stuff where they have their own defined crowds. And that is the model that they're going for, helping organizations scale on demand.
With this insight in the future of crowdsourcing, I will thank you, Epi, for your dialogue today and more discussion, and hope that we will maybe meet at some of the crowdsourcing event coming up in the coming time, even if we have a COVID pandemic around us.
Yeah, well, thanks, Kai. First of all, I really want to thank you, and I really appreciate you. First, as a human being, you're just an amazing human being. I have a privilege to really work with you, and we really enjoyed each other, a company, and we've been in many different countries together. So really appreciate the work that you've been doing. You are a true inspiration for many people. Like, you never give up. You always, raise the bar. And here's with this podcast, as I mentioned to you, you're doing excellent work, and I really congratulate you for doing this work. So appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Epi. I'm Kai Embren. Follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I will be announcing the future guests to this podcast. And you can expect about 2 programs a month. And each guest has a unique story of making business and society sustainable. So find out more. Visit my homepage, kaiembren.org. Thank you for listening.